give our guys a lot of credit. While I'm not really satisfied with, 2 home losses, our guys have hit a lot of adversity. We've missed a lot of games with a lot of people. And the next man up mentality has been really good with this group. So while it's not great in the short term sometimes, it's really good in the long term because guys are developing. And I thought we were, again, you know me, I'm always going to keep it as honest as I could be. I thought we were really good in the first half and just mediocre in the second half. But that's maturity. We have to try to play like the score 0-0 on every possession. Until we do that, we're not going to be a championship quality team, which is really what we want to be.
Considering the injuries and everything like that you have right now, with you told how pure things are as such at this point, is it a good time for a week-long break to kind of get away from it, let these guys get a little bit healthy before you do the thing?
Well, it's not going to be a week-long break. It's going to be a 2-day break. So that's the hard part about this job. And for the players is they had no Thanksgiving and they basically have very little Christmas, which is hard, but we all sign up for it because this is what we love. So we need a little break. I mean, obviously we need to get some guys healthy. When you really consider we got 3 out of our top 9 guys hurt, which, but the good thing is we're versatile enough to withstand it. Matoush, Quincy McGriff, Trey Clark, Day Grant, they all handle the ball reasonably well. So it allows you to withstand not having a real true point out there. And in some ways it helps you because you become a little bit bigger, you can contest shots, but we're better when we have the other 2.
Keith, as a follow to that as it relates to Quincy, 1 turnover in 32 minutes, just how much did that work of allowing him to run that point earlier in the season really start to build that familiarity piece that he had today?
Well, he's been primarily a point guard most of his life. In junior college he wasn't, but he's got good ball skills. He's got good instincts. He didn't practice yesterday at all, so he's playing on a bad knee too. So I give him a lot of credit for just toughing it out and come to his teammates' defense over the last 2 games. He's been pretty banged up. So I really like where he's at right now. I told our guys as a group I thought we were about 60% of what we could be down the line. We're still newborns really, right? And I think Q might be about 50%. That's how talented a guy he is. So that's a compliment. It's not negative. It's just how talented the guy is. He did a good job. He can play better than that too, I think. As he gets in better shape, better condition, better body fat count, I think you'll see a different type of player.
So did you see the guys letting up when Winthrop came back? Is that what you were talking about in terms of
I don't know if they
being
let
more
up,
mature?
but you have to have tremendous maturity not to take every play seriously. Every play matters. Okay, I'm not going to get beat on the drive. I'm not going to give up a 3. I'm going to take a better shot on offense. I mean, it's a tricky thing. Like I told Trey Clark after the game, I said, Trey, like those gambles are good, but they're also bad. So I said the gamble in the full court's a little bit better than the gamble in the front court because we can recover from that. But you don't want to take that away from him too because he's good at it. He won the last game with it, really. And Day the same way. We talked about, hey, just trying to improve his shot selection, becoming more efficient. But he busted the game open, so it's a double-edged sword sometimes. It's just understanding, and I thought as a whole we got to move the ball better than that once we got up.
Coach, Reese and Williams only combined for 9 field goal attempts, despite the, on paper, the size advantage you have inside. Was that just more of just the guards were hot open early on and allowed you to get a huge lead, or is that sort of emblematic of different games, different people's going to be able to have a good game?
We talked about that after the game as well. First off, Reese had foul trouble, so once you put him back into the game, then it's a different type of a game at that point. but we have to do a better job of getting him the ball. Williams had some foul trouble as well in the second half, but we have to become a little more balanced, especially when we go boom, boom, boom. Now, that doesn't mean we gotta go boom, boom, boom on the next one. We need to throw it inside some. And I thought Reese and Williams kicked the ball out in the first half well, so we gotta do better. I think there's not many teams throwing the ball to the block anymore like they did. He's a good player, and we did a really good job, I thought, keeping the ball out of there in the first half, and not such a good job in the second half. Not to change questions, but we need to do the same thing they did.
Speaking of foul trouble, you had 3 bigs in the first half. I would say halfway through had 2 fouls each, but you were still able to have David Dixon and Trey Williams out there. Do you, because of the depth, do you have your bigs play more physical than they necessarily would normally, compared especially last year, or is that just they just happen to randomly get the foul?
I thought we just randomly, but we can be aggressive, obviously. You know, we gotta do a better job of walling up around the rim so we don't get fouls. Those are hard calls for referees and players. You know, some nights you don't get them. You know, we have to be disciplined. I thought Trey Williams lost his discipline on a couple. I thought Chabi was pretty disciplined, you know, but he still got foul calls. Dixon, you know, the good thing about our team is we have 1 million of them. So because we have 1 million of those post guys, we can withstand what happened to us. We didn't have to play small. We could still play big. And then you add RJ in the mix and it becomes even better for us.
Coach, you said you never want to look too far ahead. Well, now look ahead now. You're going back on the road. You're starting your A-10 schedule. Where do you see yourselves heading into the A-10 into conference play?
I mean, we got a lot of work to do. I mean, again, we're so new, but like, I think by the middle of February or so, like, we could be a force to be reckoned with if we can improve. That's a big if. Like, what happens from now until the end of the year will determine who the best teams in the league are. Who can improve, who has enough upside to improve. There's some teams that can't get that much better, right? They are what they are. You know, they don't have as much upside. I feel like we're still we're like a half painted painting. You know, we're still figuring it out. And partly because we've had to play so many different, like, our mojo's weird because we played without the little guy, we played without Reese, we played without RJ. So I feel like if we can blend it, which isn't going to be easy either, right? Because now you have miserable guys because none of them are getting enough minutes, right? If we can blend it and care about winning, and then find the right mix of how we play, then I think we could be pretty good. But it's going to take time. I mean, there's no question because again, you know, we got guys out.
Considering where the coaches picked you to finish in the A-10 before the season, do you guys take offense to that and use that as a motivating factor at all?
I personally don't. I mean, nobody knows who the hell's got who. You know what I mean? Like the way the portal is now. You know, the only thing is, you know, they always say that past, you know how they say in the stock market, past performance is not an indication of future performance. In coaching it is sometimes. Like if a guy's always won, eventually they may have a bad year or two, but eventually they're gonna win again. I don't think guys just lose their cookies, right? Some guys win and some guys lose, right? You know, so I think our guys don't like it, which is good, and they're motivated. The key is going to be how tight the group is, because again, like we played 4 out of 6 on the road to start in the A-10. That's not an easy task, and then we play at home. So can we withstand the 4 out of 6? That's going to be the big deal.
Is this as good a non-conference schedule as you've played since you've been here? And if so, are you satisfied with a number of teams maybe being A-10 caliber teams?
I think it's a hard schedule. I think the numbers don't lie. Like you got a lot of 105s, 106s, 107s, 83s. 83s. You know, if a team's at 105, they're generally pretty good. right? I mean, those numbers pretty much indicate what kind of team you have. I think it's fairly accurate for the most part. Now, the matchups and how teams play will also determine whether you win, right? So, for instance, you play VCU, you know you're going to get pressure. Can you handle the pressure? You play Richmond, you know they're going to run the Princeton stuff. Can you guard the Princeton? You play Davidson, you know they're going to run the motion. They have good players. Can you guard the motion? Because a lot of the teams we played have been basic ball screen teams, which is how the game's kind of moved to. So we're going to have to learn on the fly a little bit. But I think the one thing we have, which hasn't really played out yet, is we have rim protection. We have multiple rim protections, which is going to help us when push comes to shove, if we can get better.
Keith, I would be remiss not to ask, obviously, earlier this week, Kevin and you guys separated. He's going to seek another avenue. Just what do you think of the time he had last year deciding to come back, and obviously, without getting too specifics, just your thought on what he was able to put in this year plus here?
First off, I like Kevin. He graduated. You know, he did what he had to do academically, and at that point, he has a choice to make, right? And you know, when you get suspended for 7 games, it's a grind to get back to where you want to be. So, like, I understand it. Young people have to make choices, and that's a choice he made, and I respect the choice he made. I don't have to agree with it. And I'm not saying I disagree or I do agree, but you know, it's up to him. Once you graduate, it's up to him.
Is that it?